Hello and good morning. I'm not sure why I've woken up in such a good mood this lunchtime. Okay, well, I guess at my age I'm just grateful that I woke up at all. Welcome to Grey Matters. Hello and welcome to Grey Matters, the channel that promotes the fact that the older generation still matters and has relevance, and which looks at issues that matter to the older generation. Now, you may have noticed we've had the decorators into the studio. The grey that we had for the last few years has got a little bit tired and drab looking, so we thought we'd inject a little bit of colour into the studio. They've been busy with their paintbrushes and this is the result. Let us know what you think. Now, for this edition of Grey Matters, I need to go back to the reason why we started the channel. Now, if you're over 50, and particularly if you're over 65, you'll recall that as soon as the Brexit result was announced, those who voted to remain, especially the younger voters, turned on the older generation like banshees for destroying their futures. We had all been lied to, we had all believed the lies, and we were too dumb to realise it. Although the same has been said for those who voted Labour in the last general election. Friends of mine were upset because Brexit would adversely affect their plans to have holiday homes abroad or to live abroad, and there were farmers who were worried about losing their EU subsidies, although the government of the day promised they would still get the equivalent value from them. Other farmers were actually relieved, delighted in fact to be free of the EU shackles, rules, petty rules and more rules. But overall it was we old uns that were pilloried for the result of Brexit. Now the fact is we knew exactly what we were voting for, having lived through the common market, which we joined in 1973, and that led to the metrication of our currency, and that was just the start. And then in 1975 there was actually a referendum to determine if we should stay in. Now the Brexiteers of the day, those wanting to leave the common market, lost. But you didn't hear them calling foul and consistently wanting a new referendum, even though the result then was close, 60-something% to stay in the common market. Funnily enough, no one I spoke to at the time had voted to stay in. And there was lots of conspiracy theories and things about vote rigging. Nothing was done, obviously there was no proof. Now then in 1993 the common market morphed into the European Economic Community, the EEC, and we saw the beginning of the forced adoption of Europe-wide regulations and restrictions. Then in 2009 it morphed again and became the EU behemoth that we know and love to this day. Now, as an older generation, we've seen how our society under the EU has degraded. Thousands upon thousands of rules, diktats and regulations that businesses were forced to adopt on pain of prosecution. Rules that cost the country and businesses billions to implement. Now, obviously, not all the rules regulations were bad. There was some very good legislation in terms, particularly of food standards, for example. I think health and safety went a bit silly. But it's true to say that in most aspects, Brexit has been an unmitigated disaster. Largely because no government since the referendum 10 years ago has had the inclination to ensure that it was delivered. The state of the country today is nothing to do with a failed Brexit, well, apart from unfettered illegal migration, which is bringing the infrastructure to its knees in some areas. But no, the generation knew what it was doing, and it still stands by it. Now, no doubt there will be comments still blaming us. Now, last year, the incoming government made lots of promises in the run-up to the general election, most of which have, to my knowledge, been completely broken. But it's those around our membership of the EU that I want to focus on. Remember when Remainer Starmer said this? Have a look up.
I have repeatedly said that there's no case for going back into the EU, and that includes the single market and the customs union.
Yeah. Well, now he's been cozying up to the EU with this result.
Today we have struck this landmark deal with the EU, a new partnership between an independent Britain and our allies in Europe.
He makes it all sound so beneficial, doesn't he? But don't be fooled. I doubt there's anything remotely beneficial to the UK in this deal. For me, the worst aspect of that agreement was when they gave away or giving away our fishing rights. Take a look at this from Talk TV.
That fishing deal, 12 years, the Europeans very pleased with that. Reciprocal rights, so you can get French boats, Spanish boats fishing in our waters, and in return Keir Starmer hoping to get that agreement on food and agricultural so that we can export goods to the European Union without those checks. I've actually just been down in Devon all the way to Scotland. You know, fishing was always a central plank of that negotiation when we left the European Union, to ensure that those communities had sole right to fish British territorial waters. We've seen those communities, of course, blighted with the scallop wars and so forth. Yeah. This is about, you know, Keir Starmer has decided that this is actually, you know, in a list of priorities, that these communities are right down there, that what he wants to do is to ensure we've got access to that 150 billion euro defence fund.
You know, that man has single-handedly driven the final nail into what was one of this country's biggest industries. And I covered the destruction of our fleets in a recent edition of Grey Matters Extra, and I'll leave a link for you over there at the end of the video if you've not seen it. And incidentally, it's been pointed out that Trump, love him or hate him, has done an arms deal with Saudi Arabia worth billions of pounds, but he's given nothing away to get the deal. Unlike Starmer, who, as a Remainer, has made huge concessions to the EU, and probably gleefully as well. You know, it feels as though everything our old folk did in the past to fight for us and protect our freedoms, including speech, they've all been wasted. And if we want to build up the country and prosper again, it won't be under this current government. Well, that's it for now. I actually had a subscriber complain to me the other day that the thousands of views this channel gets don't match the number of likes we're getting, which are significantly less than the views. And she told me I should press you all for more. Well, who am I to argue with a subscriber? So, if you like this edition of Grey Matters, please give it a thumbs up. There you go. Hope that meets with her approval. Don't forget to duck down below the video to our growing community of commenters and leave your own views. We love hearing them, we're reading them, and we do try and read them all. And also, if you do enjoy our content, please do subscribe and hit that bell. But in the meantime, thank you for joining us, and until the next edition of Grey Matters, I'm going to take a chill pill.